Hello, my name is Olivia Hitzlinga, and welcome to the Teach Somebody Tech Collective podcast, where we have conversations on technology, ethics, and global perspective with a focus on the Global South. Today, we have Dr. Ayuba Tuodolo. Dr. Tuodolo is a founder and executive director of AI Safety Nigeria, one of Africa's most dynamic organizations advancing safe, ethical, and inclusive artificial intelligence. He is a convener of African Cybersecurity Convention and led AI Safety Nigeria in hosting the first ever AI Safety Summit in Nigeria. A researcher in the technical domains of AI safety and governance, Dr. Tuodolo bridges policy, research, and community engagement to strengthen public trust in emerging technologies. He also serves on the Advisory Council of Blacks in AI Safety and Ethics, or BASE. His work supports the development of National Artificial Intelligence Commission Bill 2025 and positions Africa at the forefront of responsible AI innovation. Dr. Tuodolo, thank you so much for joining us here at the Tech Collective
Thank you for having me, Olivia.
Thank you for joining, and we are so excited to hear about what's happening in Nigeria and your work there. How did you end up working at the intersection of technology and society?
Yeah, so I actually came into AI because of the passion and not because of the hype. I came from a concerned point of view. I saw how rapidly artificial intelligence and systems are shaping economies around the world, are also helping to shape societies. But I also noticed that Africa is largely, or the Global South, I would say, is largely absent from the rooms where decisions are being made. And if they are not absent, then just a very few, are present in the room. That gap in that form has, pulled me into AI safety and governance. And that's where the passion is. And that's how I actually got into this space.
And I think with your work with the Nigerian government and with a lot of these initiatives in Nigeria, this next question, I think is very relevant for you. People talk a lot about responsible tech these days, but what can that mean? That can mean different things to different people. And we're curious, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, so for me, responsible tech means building systems that actually are safe, and not just safe, they are aligned with human values. And when they are aligned with human values, they can also be accountable to the people they affect. And that's why we think that responsible tech would mean safety, it would mean inclusion, it would mean accountability, it will mean, context when it comes to awareness, not just profits or power. And that's what we think that, responsible tech means. And that's basically my opinion, because we've seen that the big techs are probably looking at profitability more than safety and inclusion, and also accountability. And so a responsible tech for me has to align with human values. And that's my submission for that.
I think that covers a little bit of how the conversation with AI and technology governance could look from a global conversation. But what do you think is actually missing from a Nigerian perspective? The global conversations we hear on like the larger scale media, especially coming from the West, is there something maybe that Nigeria governance views differently than the rest of the world?
Currently, we have the way Nigeria has seen using responsible technology has, I would say that to a large extent, there's been some level of, form of accountability, except for the fact that when it turns to artificial intelligence, Nigeria is still trying to build something. Currently, no frameworks that have been built into laws. We don't have very strict regulatory processes or regulatory frameworks in Nigeria that are ensuring that there must be a huge accountability when it comes to artificial intelligence. And we must only give Nigerian government the credit to say that there are policies that are already being put in place. And that's because We currently have the Nigerian AI strategy. It's a framework that has been designed to create a roadmap on how artificial intelligence can be used and how it can be deployed safely in Nigeria. We have Nigerian Data Protection Act, which serves more like an enforcement agency to all of the incident responses that can occur during deployment of artificial intelligence. So yes, Nigeria is still building. It's an ecosystem that is evolving, and we hope that in the nearest future, with the work we do in AI safety in Nigeria, we can be able to influence some of the processes and roadmaps that are being put in place for Nigeria.
Okay, great. You actually went into one of the questions I was going to ask you, which is what is the biggest challenge you see in this area? And correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like most areas where there's a disruptive technology like AI, and they don't have good regulatory bodies to mitigate the maybe negative consequences of AI. I think this is also something we struggle with here in Europe as well. So I think this is where we can also maybe jump into the next question in that line of thought. Where do you think we are getting things wrong when it comes to AI or technology governance? Like maybe just a blanket statement, not necessarily Nigerian.
Yes, so I think we're getting it wrong in the speed that we embrace AI. And, we have been able to look at one of the best ways to ensure that you also use the same speed to create safety, to ensure proper governance of a technology you are embracing very fast. And so for us, we think that governments in the global south should ensure that whatever we are embracing, we have the capacity to also be a voice to it. We have the capacity to also ensure that our voice matters. So it is not a technology that is just imported into the global south without being a major contributor to how it is governed and to how it is implemented. So for me, that seems to be the biggest problem around how it comes in the global south. I think one of the best way we can look at it is to ensure that whatever is being imported should be designed for the people it comes to in mind. So if you want to design something, you should design it with the people in mind. Unfortunately, systems are not designed with the data, or the data are not being used from the people who are eventually users of those systems. So for me, it's a big concern. And yeah, that probably will lead to other big topics like data colonization and data sovereignty. But maybe that can be a topic for another day.
I think Denmark is also struggling with the same. We are in the kind of Western context, and we are in Europe. Denmark is where I live right now, but it's also a small country, right? We're only 5 million people. So we struggle with the same data representation in the larger LLM models coming from America as well. So I know that the Nigeria government is putting a lot of money and resources towards building localized AI startups that will hopefully bring in more localized data and context into the implementation of AI. Do you have anything interesting from your perspective on that? Is that kind of the way to go with making cultural context in AI better by allowing kind of local startup ecosystems and governments to develop it themselves?
Yes, so the Nigerian government have in time past ensured that there is some very headroom, but we are, from the perspective we see our country, Nigeria, you can hardly build the ecosystem if there are no laws guiding it. If there are no laws saying these are the patterns you must use, and so everything is still at the building state as it is. Nigerian government is investing so much on, e-governance currently. AI has not seen most of the attention happening, globally in Nigeria. We feel that our governments are still at the phase of understanding, and I think this is happening around the global south as well. But unfortunately, the majority of the citizens have already embraced, this technology. And that's why organizations like AI Safety Nigeria is coming into play to ensure that we can begin with some form of AI literacy, activities, which is part of the things we do currently to help bridge that gap and to also be able to tell Nigerian government that these are the tools or these are the necessary aspects to be able to govern artificial intelligence and allow young startups in the ecosystem to find a voice and to have a ground, they can be able to succeed properly. In the proposed bill currently, there are some unfavorable decisions around ecosystems or small startups or startups that are coming around AI. And we are thinking and we are already mapping out, frameworks to counter some of them. Because in the way that we are saying we want to govern artificial intelligence, we must also ensure that startups in AI do not suffer, when it comes to building technology that they're meant to build because of the strict regulations and processes, which I know currently the EU are reconsidering their strict measures around, around this aspect of regulation and enforcement.
Yeah, yeah. And I think because of the changing nature of AI and its application, it's really hard to regulate it so that it is aligned with their values, as you said. So I will also put in the show notes, you mentioned the AI Safety Nigeria that you are a part of, and a lot of your work is around AI literacy, is that correct?
Yes.
So how do people in Nigeria, how do they sign up for this? Is this something you do with universities or schools, or how is it incorporated into the community?
Yes, so we have different programs reaching out to different people. We launched, of course, we ran the very first AI Safety Summit, bringing together government regulators, civil society organizations, students from universities, academias, and journalists also to that summit. And that summit gave back to other programs for capacity building. Currently, we run an event called Learn and Launch. Learn and Launch is a capacity building monthly, program where young people who are working in the intersection of AI come together in a room with the support of the American spaces in Nigeria, come together and we discuss policies, we discuss, algorithm failures, we discuss large language terms, and we say, look, we come up with policies. We've been able to design policy briefs around red lines. We've talked about red teaming. We have a reading group across 9 universities currently with over 163 students, reading every week. We launched one of the first indigenous AI safety and governance fellowship in Nigeria, having participants across the world, both in Africa, in Europe, and currently we're in week 7. It's a 12-week fellowship where we are developing one of the best around governance and policy. So far, Nigerians are excited about this because this is the first time they are seeing a dedicated group in Nigeria that is dedicated just to safety of artificial intelligence. Currently, we have expanded the Learn and Launch. It used to be in a city in Abuja. Currently, we have just launched Lagos, and we had one in Lagos. We're launching another city by the end of this month, and another city is calling. And these people are calling because they said, it feels like we're sitting on a time bomb, and we don't want that to happen. And so we've seen the work you do, and we want to help expand the work. And these are total volunteering roles that people are running around this for. Sometimes they want to bring in their fund to ensure these events are happening. So yes, the people love the project. The people love the fact that we have somebody and some organizations trying to check and advise the government and ensuring that what we are consuming in form of artificial intelligence systems are safe, are ethical, and have human value.
That's amazing. There's a new government coming in, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
and I know you've been working a lot already to build a lot of frameworks and policy recommendations on how to handle this. And I guess with this community building that you're doing, you're also getting to talk to the people that are concerned with this and getting that data. Are you also capturing that data in a way to show politicians this is what the populace thinks, and these are what are the different groups around Nigeria think about AI?
Yes, you're right, because it's an election phase. I was invited to a radio podcast a few weeks ago, and it was centered around deepfakes and the election coming up. And this is one aspect where a lot of countries in the global south try to neglect, that election, if not tackled properly, can cause a catastrophic crisis or a catastrophic risk or even an existential risk because of the power that deepfake travels. And so we have been able to come up with an advisory on election matters in Nigeria. We'll be sharing that advisory sometime by next week. We feel that the government needs to understand the dangers. Because we are non-governmental, we play a role of advisory. We do not enforce it. We are also not at any point trying to agitate for anything. We are also not advocating because of the kind of roles we play. And because of the kind of partners we get internationally also, we don't play advocating roles. The kind of roles we play are strictly advisory. We currently have placed an advisory about a surveillance camera that has been deployed in 3 cities in Nigeria. It is an AI-enabled CCTV, and we have sent in an advisory to the government on how this data must be used and how the global AI governance policies must be in place. You don't survey people. Surveillance without consent, it's a crime. And so we do all of this just to ensure that we check every system that comes into the government, whether political, whether about elections, whether about health, agriculture. We want to ensure that whatever comes into this part of the world comes in safe and comes in using the best ethical standards.
That's great. And I know Nigerian, the former government at least, have signed, collaboration with EU and also with the US intelligence AI to try to coordinate across the board with that. So that's great to hear. I think we will round off the question now because you've answered throughout this talk a lot of the other questions I was going to ask. So that's great. We can jump over to what you see in the future. What needs to happen in the next 5 to 10 years to move us towards more responsible and inclusive technology? I know you've touched a lot on that. You're already doing a lot of that work involving the community with AI literacy, advising with frameworks, and also pointing out where government can do better in terms of data collection and surveillance, for example. But let's just kind of extrapolate that conversation 5 to 10 years now into the future, considering the new government coming in and the speed of AI and the risks that are now coming to light globally around the world. Where do you see maybe the priorities of that, the first 5 to 10 years, what we should really prioritize?
Yes. So first, I see an African AI capacity beyond what it is currently. I see that the capacity in the next few years will be bigger than what it is. Number 2, I see a regional coordination. And why am I talking about regional coordination? Because Africa needs to find a way to become major players. And one of the best ways to become major players is to collaborate. Look at the kind of work the EU is doing. The African Union must do better and must become must coordinate other African states to ensure that we have one clear roadmap. And that's what I see coming in the future, because a lot of voices are tilting towards that and asking the African Union to look at what the EU is doing and build something for Africa by Africans. I see a lot of inclusion in global governance also, and it is already coming up. The work that you do here is also ensuring that the voices in the global south are included in the global space. I mean, the globe, it's already gaining some strength and is gaining some momentum. And so I see that happening very soon. I see top Nigerians like, getting involved. Top AI researchers from the global south are beginning to, raise a voice. And so I believe if Africa doesn't build capacity now, we won't just miss the AI revolution, we will be governed by it. And I see that in a nutshell, we must ensure that we build such capacity. And yeah, it's a beautiful and a bright future for me that I see with the work that is going on around the global south. I see a brighter future for the global south and Africa in general.
Yeah, I think I see that also across the board in other countries that I've talked to, that there needs to be more alignment also across the board for it to actually amount to anything, because otherwise one country will do something else that directly affects your country if you're implemented into that model in some way, right? Okay, so let's go down to closing remarks. Hopefully end on a happy note, as you said. I think you mentioned this also just now, but maybe you have something more to add. What is one technology trend you're excited about, and one that worries you, and why?
AI for public health, AI for public good, looking at health and education, youth innovation. We held an AI community hangout, and one of the key things we talked about trending technologies, AI for public good. And for me, yes, I see that in health and in education. It is transforming how our education is tilting towards. It's also turning around the ways that our health systems are being managed. And so I'm excited about that. However, I'm also, careful that it's not misused, it is balanced, and that way it can become really exciting the more. One thing that worries me is concentration of power and misuse. The topic has always been there. Who do we hold accountable when an AI system goes wrong? That's where misuse comes in. AI systems are not really designed to cause chaos. They are not really designed to cause catastrophic risk, but the misuse of it, brings all of those aspects. Using it for disinformation, using it for biosafety issues, using it for cyber threats. These are the problems. And I just close by talking about what has happened between Anthropic and the US government. This is what we want, and this is what AI systems are built for. One party wants to use it for another information or for another purpose. And so that's where my biggest worry lies. My biggest worry lies in the place where this technology can cause an existential risk and work in the way that human cannot control it anymore. That's my biggest worries.
I think with your intersection of cybersecurity, policy work, and community building is a perfect kind of profile to have in that space, because some of this, it's hard to say what companies will go for if the goal is always profit. So they will always take what is profitable, right? So if we choose as a society to weaponize this technology in a profitable way, then the incentives are there to do wrong, right? I agree with your sentiment a lot, actually. And in another conversation, I would love to dig into what you think cybersecurity parts will be, because I think that's a whole bigger can of worms that we could talk about for another hour. But yeah, it was so great to have you on here. Do you have any advice for people who want to get into AI in some way?
Yes, I think I have more advice even to people who are building AI, because I feel that is where safety starts from. Every time we talk about safety, how AI is governed, can government control them? Can government use strategies like maybe withholding powers around GPUs and, all just via regulation and enforcement? And I said, look, even before we get to that point, can we begin to build with safety from day one? Can we have safety embedded in all the systems from day one? Because it becomes even difficult to begin to fight safety into already powerful systems. It becomes almost impossible. So we're hoping that as you build your systems, ensure you follow the guardrails, ensure you follow the frameworks, ensure safety is number one. And that way we can have a better world, we can have a better system, we can have, the excitement that truly artificial intelligence should bring into play. That's my advice currently.
And that's a great way to end the conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Ayuba Tuodolo, for joining us here on the podcast. And I'm excited to follow your work in Nigeria and the rest of Africa as you try to unite a more cohesive vision of fair and safe AI. So thank you so much for joining us. And stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.